Hey everyone, welcome to Fear Time. Tonight I'm going to tell you one deeply unsettling paranormal story. An encounter with an entity that doesn't belong to our world. It won't jump out. It won't scream. It will simply wait and watch. If you enjoy dark, atmospheric horror like this, you can support me on Patreon. Your support helps keep Fear Time alive and allows me to create even more disturbing stories for you. Now, take a breath, get comfortable, and don't look away. Let's begin. The entity that never moved. The first night it appeared, I didn't understand what I was seeing. I had moved into the apartment less than a month earlier. Quiet building, quiet street, the kind of place you rent because nothing ever happens. Beige hallway, old carpet, a lobby that smelled like dust and laundry detergent. The sort of normal that makes you lower your guard. My bedroom was small. A bed, a nightstand, a dresser, and one corner near the door that stayed darker than the rest of the room. Even in daylight, it looked slightly dim, as if the light avoided it. I noticed that on the first day and forgot about it by the second. For the first 2 weeks, I slept fine. I learned the building's noises, pipes ticking, the elevator groaning, a neighbor's TV muffled through the wall. Nothing spooky, nothing dramatic, just life inside thin walls. Then one night, I turned the lamp off. I don't know why I woke up. There was no sound, no nightmare, no sudden movement. My eyes simply opened and my body locked into place, as if someone had pressed an invisible hand on my chest. I couldn't move my arms. I couldn't roll over. I couldn't even turn my head. All I could do was breathe, shallow, controlled breaths, because I was terrified that if I breathed too loudly, whatever was in the room would notice. But it already had. The certainty was immediate, directional, like a magnetic pull in my awareness. My eyes were stuck on the ceiling, but my attention was being dragged toward the corner by the door, the darkest corner in the room. Something was standing there. At first, it was only a vertical density in the darkness, darker than the dark itself, as if the corner had deepened into a hole. It wasn't a shadow. Shadows shift when headlights pass outside or when clouds move across a street lamp. This didn't shift. It didn't tremble. It didn't breathe. My mind tried to supply details. A coat on a hook, a stack of boxes. My own fear giving shape to nothing. But the longer I stared, the more certain I became that it was none of those things. There was a figure in the corner, too tall for my room. No face, no eyes, no mouth, no clear limbs, just an outline that suggested a head and shoulders, a torso drawn thin, and a height that looked wrong against the doorframe. It didn't lean, it didn't sway, it didn't shift its weight like a person would. It was perfectly still. I tried to scream. My throat tightened, my chest strained, but no sound came out. I tried to blink. Even blinking felt slow and impossible, like my eyelids were made of lead. The air felt heavier, as if the room had filled with water and I was sinking. Then I blinked, and the corner was empty. I sat up so fast the blanket slid off my chest. I snapped the lamp on. Bright, ordinary light flooded the room. The corner was just a corner again, painted drywall, a small scuff mark near the baseboard. Nothing else. I laughed. One sharp, shaky breath that sounded more like a sob. Sleep paralysis, I whispered. That's what that was. I kept the lamp on the rest of the night. In the morning, I felt ridiculous. I Googled sleep paralysis symptoms. Every description fit. Waking up unable to move, sensing a presence, seeing a figure. Logic held the fear at arm's length. So I slept with the light on for a week. Nothing happened. No presence. No figure. On the 7th night, I came home late. Exhaustion dropped me into sleep like a stone. I forgot the lamp. I woke at 3:17 a.m. I knew the time before I saw the clock. The same cold alertness surged through me, like my body remembered the exact moment to be afraid. The corner was occupied. This time the figure wasn't vague. It was crisp in its wrongness, its outline cutting into the darkness like a silhouette carved from smoke. It stood in the exact same spot as the first night. The same posture, the same stillness. It hadn't moved. Not in a week. That's when the worst thought arrived, clean and calm. It didn't appear when I turned the light off. It was always there. It simply became visible when I stopped pretending. It wasn't. My phone lay on the nightstand. I slid my fingers toward it, terrified that movement would invite attention. The figure did nothing. My fingertips found the edge of the phone, slick with sweat. I turned the screen on. The corner went empty instantly, like someone erased the darkness with light. Relief hit me so hard my hand shook. Then the phone vibrated. A notification. New photo. I hadn't opened the camera. With trembling thumbs, I opened my gallery. There was a photo time-stamped 3:16 a.m. It showed my bedroom. The angle was wrong, too high, too far back, like the photo had been taken from near the ceiling. The bed was visible from above, my body under the blanket, and in the corner stood the figure. Except in the photo it had more detail than my eyes ever had. Taller than the door, narrow shoulders, a head that looked smooth and featureless, as if the camera couldn't focus on it. But the detail that made my stomach drop was the perspective. The photo was taken from the corner itself, from where the thing stood, as if it had taken the picture. I deleted it. I deleted it again. I checked recently deleted and wiped it there too. I turned on every light in the apartment and sat with my back to the wall until dawn, staring at the corner like it might grow teeth. In the morning, the photo was back in my gallery. Same timestamp, same angle, same corner. I turned off CloudSync. I unplugged my router. I restarted my phone. I deleted the photo again. It returned. Not immediately, just later, like it waited until I relaxed. That day, I asked the neighbor across the hall if she'd ever felt anything strange in the building. She smiled politely. Like what? I almost told her. The figure, the photo, the corner that felt deeper than it should. But the words died because I could already see her deciding whether I was joking or unstable. So I lied. Bad sleep? That night I taped a bedsheet over the corner, white fabric pinned to drywall. It looked stupid, but it made me feel like I was covering a window. I slept with the lamp off, determined to prove fear was the only monster. At 3:17 a.m., I woke again. The sheet was gone. Not fallen. Gone. And the figure stood in the corner exactly as before, as if it had never been covered at all. I reached for my phone. The screen wouldn't turn on. I pressed the power button. Nothing. Held it down. Nothing. Dead. Despite being on the charger. The figure did not move. It didn't need to. And that's when I understood what the stillness meant. It wasn't waiting to attack. It was waiting to be acknowledged. Waiting for me to accept it as part of the room, part of the rules. The longer I stared, the more normal it began to feel. Not less frightening, just more inevitable. Like gravity. My paralysis loosened. Not because it left, but because it allowed me to move. My fingers twitched. My knees bent under the blanket. I could sit up if I wanted. But I didn't. Because the moment I could move, I realized something else. The figure wasn't just in the corner. It was positioned exactly where I would stand if I opened the door, blocking the exit like a patient guard. Minutes passed. My eyes burned. The room smelled of cold dust. The figure stayed perfectly upright, like a statue that didn't need breath. A car passed outside, the streetlight flickered, and for half a second the room shifted shade. In that brief change, the outline sharpened, and I saw a thin seam where a mouth might be. Not open, not smiling, just a slit. Then I heard a sound, so quiet I thought it was in my head. A click, like a camera shutter. My phone vibrated on the nightstand. The screen turned on by itself. New photo. I didn't open it. I couldn't. I slammed the lamp on. The corner went empty again, leaving only the dull wall and the scuff mark. In the morning, the new photo was there. It was a close-up of my face from above as I slept, eyes closed, mouth slightly open, and behind me, in the darkness, the outline of the figure, closer than before. That afternoon, I packed a bag and left. I abandoned furniture, dishes, even clothes. I didn't care. I only cared about never sleeping in that room again. For a while it worked. Weeks passed, then months. I lived somewhere brighter. I told myself the old apartment had been a bad dream that lasted too long. Then one night I woke up at 3:17 a.m. I wasn't paralyzed. I could move. That made it worse, because my eyes were open, and across the room, in a corner that should have been harmless, I saw a vertical patch of darkness that didn't belong. A figure, tall and still, standing perfectly upright. Not closer, not farther. Exactly where it needed to be, waiting for me to notice that it had followed. My phone buzzed once. New photo. I never opened it. I didn't have to. I just stared at the corner until dawn, because I knew the rule now. The moment you look away, it gets closer. When sunrise finally came, I forced myself to look away just once, only long enough to grab my keys from the dresser. The air behind me tightened, like a silent inhale. I didn't turn around. I walked out backwards, eyes locked on the corner, until the door shut. Later that day, the newest image was already there. The corner, empty, except for a faint fingerprint smear on the wall at eye level, as if something had leaned in close to be seen. So, did that story creep you out? If you felt watched while listening, that's normal, because the next one isn't about something you can see. It's about something that learns you by copying you. Let's move on to the second story. Story 2. The voice that answered back. The first time I heard it, I thought I was imagining things. I live alone in a small rental house on the edge of town. 1 floor, narrow hallway, 2 bedrooms, and walls thin enough that you can hear the refrigerator switch on from the living room. It's the kind of place where every sound has an explanation if you want one. Wind in the vents, pipes ticking, wood settling as the temperature drops. That night, I was in the kitchen making tea. It was just after midnight. I remember staring at the dark window above the sink when I heard it. My name, spoken clearly from the hallway. I froze with the kettle in my hand, listening for a second sound. Footsteps, a door, anything. There was nothing. "Hello," I called out, without thinking. From the hallway, the voice answered. "Hello!" It was my voice, not similar, not close. Perfect. Same tone, same little hesitation I have when I'm unsure who I'm talking to. My stomach tightened. I stepped into the living room and looked down the hallway. The lights were off. The bedrooms were black rectangles. "Who's there?" I asked. From the darkness, My voice replied, quieter this time. Who's there? The repetition landed wrong, like the house was mocking me. I backed away and grabbed my phone. My hands were shaking so badly I missed the screen twice before I managed to call my friend Mark. He answered half asleep. Dude, what's going on? There's someone in my house, I whispered. I heard a voice. What kind of voice? Before I could answer, I heard it again. Not from the hallway this time, from the living room, behind me, my voice right by my ear. Don't tell him. Mark went silent, then sharper. What was that? My blood turned cold. You heard it? That sounded like you, he said. Are you messing with me? I'm not, I whispered. I swear I'm not. Get out, Mark said. Leave. Now. I didn't argue. I grabbed my keys and stepped onto the porch, barefoot, locking the door behind me. I ran to my car and sat inside with the doors locked while Mark stayed on the line. For 10 minutes, nothing happened. No lights inside, no movement in the windows. Then my phone buzzed. A text message. From my own number. Come back inside. Another message arrived immediately. We need practice. A third. A second later. You said it wrong. I blocked my own number. Mark told me to call the police, so I did. They walked through the house, checked closets, checked under beds, checked the backyard. No forced entry, no hidden speakers, nothing missing. After they left, Mark came over and stayed until morning. We kept every light on and talked loudly about normal things, like we could drown it out. Nothing happened while Mark was there. When he finally left, the house felt hollow again. The next day, I tried to act normal. I went to work, smiled at people, nodded through meetings, but I kept hearing my own hello in my head like a hook snagged behind my ribs. When I got home, the house looked harmless in daylight. I stood in the hallway and forced myself to speak like I was daring it. Say it, I whispered. Say my name. Silence. I almost felt relief until my phone rang. It was Mark. I answered fast. Hey! Mark's voice on the line sounded strained. Why did you call me last night? I didn't, I said. He paused. You did? At 2:52. You left me a voicemail. My mouth went dry. Play it. I heard tapping on his end, then my own voice filled the speaker. Low, steady, perfectly calm. Don't come over, it said in my voice. He's not alone anymore. Then there was a soft sound underneath the words, breathing, close and wet, followed by a faint laugh that was not mine at all. Mark's real voice returned, shaky. What is that? What the hell is that? I couldn't answer. I just stared down the hallway, expecting to see it standing there in daylight. That night, I placed my phone on the kitchen counter with the camera facing the hallway. I told myself I would not answer anything, I would not react. At 2:43 a.m., I woke up without knowing why. I heard breathing, soft, careful breathing, from somewhere just beyond my bedroom door, like someone was standing there, listening. Then my voice whispered very gently, "Hello?" It didn't sound like a question. It sounded like practice. I stayed still. I didn't answer. "Hello?" it said again, slightly different, like it was adjusting the tone. The doorknob turned a fraction. Not enough to open, just enough to test. Then, from the other side of the door, my voice said, "You're awake." The voice continued, calm and curious. "You breathe louder when you're scared." The knob turned again, a tiny click against the lock. "Let me try," it whispered. "I can do it better now." The chair under the knob slid an inch across the floor, as if something leaned into the door. Steady pressure, patient, testing. I reached for my phone on the nightstand. The screen wouldn't turn on. In the darkness, the voice laughed, quietly. The laugh wasn't mine. Then it spoke again in my voice, but smoother, as if it had sanded down my imperfections. "Open the door," it said. "It's safer, if you let me in." At some point, the breathing stopped. The weight lifted. The hallway went silent. When morning light slid under my door, I finally moved. I ran to the kitchen. My phone on the counter was recording. The video was 2 hours long. For most of it, nothing happened. Then, at 2:43 a.m., the audio changed. A voice, my voice, began speaking softly. Not to me, but to itself. It was repeating phrases over and over like someone rehearsing lines. "Hello?" Pause. "Who's there?" Pause. "This isn't funny." Pause. "Don't tell him." In between, there was that careful breathing, close to the microphone. Then, at 2:52 a.m., a tall, narrow shape crossed the frame. Too quick to identify, but there. Right after it passed, my voice spoke again, calmer than before. I can say it like you now. I didn't stay in that house another night. I packed a bag and drove to a motel on the highway where the lights never really go out. For 2 nights, nothing happened. I started to believe distance mattered. On the 3rd night, I woke up at 2:43 a.m. to the sound of someone talking in the room next to mine. A muffled voice through the wall, my voice, softly repeating, "Hello, hello, hello." My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. "You're learning too." Then another message came from my own number, blocked, but somehow delivered anyway. "Don't change rooms." I didn't move. And from the other side of the wall, my voice whispered perfectly, "Don't tell him." That's when I understood the worst part. It didn't live in the house. The house was just where it met me. And now it knew my routine, down to the minute I wake up. It didn't need a key. It only needed me to answer once. I still don't answer unknown calls at night. I still sleep with the light on. And sometimes when I'm alone and my house is quiet, I catch myself whispering hello just to test the air. Because the scariest part is this: every time I speak, I'm giving it another chance to practice. And one day, it will sound more like me than I do. So, did you notice it? That feeling that something was listening while the story was being told? Good. Because the last story isn't about voices or shadows. It's about something you can't see at all. Let's move on to the final story. Story 3. The Wind That Knew My Name. I grew up in a small town where wind was a constant presence. It came off the fields, slipped between houses, rattled old fences, and whistled through cracks in windows. Everyone there slept with some kind of noise. Fans, radios, open windows. Because silence felt unnatural. The wind was never silent. When my uncle died, I moved into his house to help clean it out. He had lived alone on the edge of town, where the road turned to dirt and the fields stretched out wide and empty. The house was old, wooden, and always cold, no matter the season. The first night I stayed there, the wind was strong. It pushed against the walls, crept under the doors, and moaned through the chimney like something trying to breathe. I didn't think much of it, until the wind said my name. I was lying on the couch, half asleep, when I heard it clearly through the open window. My name. Drawn out, stretched, carried on the air. I sat up, heart pounding, listening. The wind blew again, harder this time. And again, it said my name. Not shouted, not whispered, spoken. I told myself it was imagination. Wind can sound like anything if you're tired enough. I closed the window, locked it, and went to bed upstairs. The wind followed me. It pressed against the house, slipping through gaps in the walls, moving from one side to the other like it was circling. Then it stopped. Complete silence. That was worse. From outside my bedroom window, something breathed in. Deep, slow, intentional. Then the wind spoke again. Closer now. Come outside. I froze. The voice wasn't carried by the wind anymore. The wind was the voice. I know you, it said, my name curling strangely in the air. I remember your breathing. I didn't sleep that night. The next day I found my uncle's old journals. He had filled notebooks with messy handwriting, pages warped from moisture. Every few pages, the same sentence appeared, "Do not answer the wind." I laughed it off at first. Then I kept reading. He wrote about standing on the porch at night, about hearing his name carried across the fields, about how the wind changed direction when he spoke, about how it grew quieter the more he ignored it, and how it grew angry the first time he answered. That night, the wind returned stronger than before. It slammed against the house, shook the windows, howled through the gaps in the siding. The power went out just after midnight. In the darkness, the wind slowed. It moved carefully now, testing. From outside my window, it whispered again. "Why won't you answer me?" I stayed silent. The wind shifted, sliding along the walls, moving around the house like fingers searching for a crack. Then it changed tactics. It spoke in my uncle's voice. "Please," it said softly. "It's cold out here." My throat tightened. The wind had learned his voice. "I let you in," it continued, sounding tired and old. "You can too." I backed away from the window, every instinct screaming at me not to speak. The wind laughed, not loud, satisfied. Something knocked on the front door. Once, twice, 3 times. Each knock came with a gust of wind that rattled the walls, as if the house itself was breathing in and out. I stayed where I was until morning. When daylight came, the wind vanished. No breeze, no sound, nothing. I packed my things and left that afternoon. A week later, I heard about what happened to the neighbor down the road. They found him outside, standing barefoot in the field behind his house, mouth open, eyes dry, lungs empty. The report said exposure, but the windows of his house were all closed, and his journals, found open on the table, ended with a sentence written over and over until the ink tore through the page. "It only enters when you answer. I don't live near fields anymore. I don't open my windows at night. And when the wind changes direction suddenly, when it seems to pause like it's listening, I hold my breath. Because sometimes late at night, when everything is still, the air outside my room shifts, and the wind says my name, very patiently, waiting for me to respond."